Every comic book character got their start somewhere, and some made a better first impression than others. So today, I'm asking the question, what comic book character had the best first appearance? Was it Superman Action Comics number 1? It has a lot of the aspects that you would expect from a Superman book. Superman defending people who cannot defend themselves, Lois being brash and sassy, Superman saving Lois from a nasty predicament. It's a great first appearance and it does hold up decently well, but it's definitely not perfect. At this time, there was no Ma and Pa Kent. Superman just grew up in an orphanage. His powers hadn't been fully fleshed out, and Superman himself had kind of a cold personality, and Clark was just a spineless coward, nothing more. Okay, maybe Batman's first appearance, Detective Comics number 27. Is it the best first appearance for a comic character? Batman is a mysterious crime fighter who takes out bad guys with ease, solves a killing spree that had Commissioner Gordon stumped, and stops another murder from taking place. He also drives a red car for some reason and kills a guy with no regrets at all. Batman punches the evildoer into a vat of acid while watching the man die. He says, "A fitting end for his kind." I will say, kids in 1939 must have had their minds blown when at the end of the issue it is revealed that Commissioner Gordon's plain, boring rich friend that we saw at the beginning of the issue, Bruce Wayne, is actually Batman. That must have been nuts if you're like a 10-year-old reading that in 1939. That had to be pretty cool. Another great issue, but I wouldn't say it's the best. So what about Amazing Fantasy number 15, the first appearance of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and one where you actually get the origin of the character in their first ever comic, which is kind of rare for back in the day. Peter goes through a lot in his first appearance. He gets ignored by girls and bullied by Flash Thompson. A spider bites him and he suddenly has extraordinary powers. He decides to use those powers for selfish means and starts wrestling. He is again selfish and doesn't stop a burglar who later on ends up killing his Uncle Ben. Peter finds the man who killed Uncle Ben and upon realizing who it is has a breakdown. This really cements the "with great power comes great responsibility" line for Uncle Ben, and thus the superhero Spider-Man is born. It's a fantastic issue and a really good introduction for a new hero. But no, I still think there's a better first appearance, and now I'll tell you which one it is. That comic is All-Star Western number 10, the first appearance of Jonah Hex. This book is, to me, the perfect first appearance and my favorite. There's a lot of great ones, but this is my favorite. Now, it did have the advantage of it came out in the 70s to where Batman Superman came out in the 30s, Spider-Man came out in the 60s, so of course, as the years go on, people get better at writing comics and knowing what people want. But still, the 70s is a long time ago, and this issue holds up really well. It feels like something that could come out today and would still be just amazing. The first page of this comic shows Jonah Hex on his horse dragging in 2 corpses while the townfolk stand there in shock. The top of the page reads, "Cold-blooded killer, vicious, unmerciful hellion without feeling, without conscience, a man consumed by hate, a man who boded evil." That was Jonah Hex. Just complete chills on that first page. The following page, we see Jonah go to collect his bounty reward for the 2 outlaws he killed, and this page does a couple things. One, it shows that Jonah Hex is a huge dude. Tony DiZanuga, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Sorry if you've been around the channel for a bit, you know I'm horrible at pronouncing people's names. But he made sure to show the reader that Jonah has a very physical presence and is much larger than your average man. The page also displays how nervous and uncomfortable people are around Hex. He just killed 2 bad guys and brought him in, but the men that hired him are terrified of him. Just goes to show how Hex's reputation is unsettling to everyone. Knowing what this man is capable of, you're just scared. You don't know what he's going to do. Also, the way John Albano writes Jonah's dialogue to display his cowboy accent is completely perfect. Like, it's so good. The way he talks, all the dialogue for Jonah is just spot on. Jonah goes to the saloon in town where 3 more men with bounties on their heads have a trap set for Jonah, but he's smarter than that. He sneaks in through the back and guns down 2 of them while the third one runs away. When he's about to shoot the third outlaw, a child gets in his way and the criminal is able to get away. Jonah yells at the kid, but the boy tells him, "My pa, he'll whoop your ass if you lay a hand on me." Jonah then goes to retrieve his horse so he can chase the outlaw, but he sees a man that is about to abuse his horse. But Jonah ain't having none of that. He knocks the man out cold with 1 punch, again displaying his physicality. Especially considering this guy was shown to be huge. This guy that Jonah knocks out is like a big muscular dude. So it's again displaying that Jonah is a very physical guy, and you don't want to mess with him. Cut to the outlaw who got away. He made it to the hideout where his boss is, and he's telling him all about how terrifying Jonah Hex is. His boss doesn't care and thinks this guy is over-exaggerating, and he mentions how Hex's face looks like it was kicked by a mule, which at the time was interesting because everyone knows now Jonah has a messed up face. That's part of his character. But the cover of this doesn't show Jonah's face. The entire time leading up to this part of the comic, the right side of Hex's face is covered in shadows. So this is something that's interesting. We hear that his face looks like it was kicked by a mule. So yeah, that's interesting to the reader at this point. He then sends his man out to get water, but the guy is so scared of Jonah Hex, he's begging not to go out there. He's stuttering and shaking at just the thought of seeing Jonah Hex out there. Reluctantly, he goes outside to fetch water. While on his way back to the hideout, he sees a shadowy figure, but he doesn't know who it is until the figure lights his cigarette and we see Jonah Hex's scarred face. This is such a cool reveal. The right side of his face has been obscured in shadows this whole time, but it's finally revealed what his face looks like, and it's when Jonah is confronting a killer lighting his cigarette. Just perfection. The outlaw freaks out and goes to draw his weapon while Hex is completely unconcerned and is just focused on his cigarette. But Hex is so fast, he draws his pistol and gets a shot off before the outlaw is even able to fire. Hex lets the man speak some final words begging for his life so his boss can hear him until Jonah puts another bullet in him, ending his life. Big Jim, the leader of the gang, hightails it out of the cabin and is so scared he shoots a rotten stump that he thought was Jonah Hex because he is so on edge. He then books it into the woods. He thinks he's safe until he sees Hex's silhouette stalking him in the moonlight. Big Jim is thoroughly freaked out and now believes that Jonah Hex isn't human but is some kind of devil. He winds up on a farm and takes a woman hostage. The kid from earlier shows up and tells Jonah that's his mom, and he begs him not to let her get hurt. So Jonah tells Big Jim he'll comply and takes his gun belt off. Jonah does so, but when Big Jim gets on his horse to get away, Jonah pulls a hidden knife from behind his neck and throws it at Big Jim with deadly accuracy. The kid tells Jonah he was lying and he doesn't actually have a dad when he's talking to him earlier, telling him that his dad would beat his ass. But he invites him to come back for dinner, and Jonah tells him he'll consider it. Hex then goes back into town and collects the $400 reward for killing all those outlaws. He asks the men that run the town what happened to that kid's dad, and they tell him he died in an Indian raid a long time ago, and that his widow has had a rough go of it ever since. And she is going to lose the farm even because she owes $300 in back taxes. Jonah pays off her debt and asks about a house he saw for sale at the edge of town, tells him he was thinking about settling down, and that looks like a nice house to potentially do it. The men immediately say the house is sold that morning and they don't have any other houses available. Hex plays it off like the place is a dump and he never want to live there. And he's what makes you think I want to live in a crappy place like this anyways? Essentially saying that he's just messing around. And when he rides off, the men talk about how horrible it would be to have a savage like Hex living there and he should go live with his own people. Jonah plans on saying goodbye to the kid and then heading out. The mother confronts Jonah before he can do so, and before he gets to the house, and she tells him her son looks up to him as a hero after what he did, but she doesn't see him that way. She sees him as a bloodthirsty killer, and she wants him to leave her son alone and never come back, ever. Jonah again plays it off like that wasn't his intention, that he doesn't care about her or her kid. He just says, what makes you think I would care about you guys? I hate you guys, essentially, is what he tells her. Jonah then runs into the kid after that, and the kid has all his stuff packed and tells Jonah he wants to ride with him. Jonah says to the kid to go back to his mom, but the kid says to Jonah that he thought Jonah liked him. And then Jonah says, like you? I hate you, boy. Hate you like poison. Then he rides off, and we see him take his rage out on the town sign. All-Star Western issue 10 really just did such a great job at laying the groundwork for who Jonah Hex is as a character and what he was going to be going forward. A lot of these first appearances, the characters have elements there for what they are now and what they're known for, but there are so many differences and so many changes, and a lot of the times for the better, but Jonah Hex was nailed so well in his first appearance that they didn't really change much with his character. He's evolved, obviously, and a lot has happened with the story which affects him as a character, but most of the groundwork is there from the beginning, and there wasn't much to change. And it's great, and I love that about Jonah Hex. And this issue is so multi-layered and has so much depth compared to your typical first issue. And yes, again, it does have the advantage if it came out a little later than most, but still, it came out in 1972. That is a long time ago. You didn't have a lot of comics coming out at this time with the same amount of depth that this story had. There are so many layers here with Jonah Hex. He's such an interesting character. He's wearing a Civil War outfit. What's up with that? And on the bad side even, and why is he wearing that? What did that, like, sparks your imagination? You're like wondering, why is that? He also has elements of him that are Apache-like, and you're wondering, where did that come from? People also refer to him as a savage, which again was something that American Indians were referred to back in the day. So it was like, does he have something to do with American Indians? That would explain why he's so good at stealth. That's a part of the book, how he's good at stealth and tracking and and following people. And so it's like, maybe he has something with that and the throwing knife. But then also you're wondering what's going on with his face. And the reveal of his face is done so well. You see how smart he is with the tactics when he flanks the guy at the beginning. Something that's really tragic about the character as well is the fact that he does literally nothing bad in this issue. There's no bad deed that Jonah Hex does in this issue. He is hired to kill this gang, and he kills all of them lawfully, the way it's supposed to be done. He doesn't go outside the law to do it. He saves a mother and child, like a hostage situation. He does everything by the book, but because of his reputation as this savage, they don't want him there. They're like, imagine this town if he's here. This would be so horrible. And he also has to play it off because he has this reputation to live up to. And also because he is rejected by all these people because of his reputation, so he accepts it. It's like this horrible circle that Jonah's caught in. He cannot be happy. It's very tragic. And this is just in the first issue. There's so many issues after this that are amazing as well. I just love this comic so much, and I think it's something that if it were to come out next Wednesday, it would be the best comic that would come out that Wednesday. It is a comic that holds up so well, to where, as much as I love Action Comics, Superman's my favorite superhero of all time, Action Comics #1 is a good comic. If it came out next Wednesday, like if, say, Action Comics #1 didn't exist and it came out, it'd be like, yeah, this is a fun book, but it's not the best comic. Well, depending on what comics came out that Wednesday, it could be. But generally speaking, it's like not going to be the greatest. It'll be like, yeah, it was fun, but some things are lacking, to where here, everything's on par. The writing, the story, the dialogue, the art, the colors, everything about this is top notch. And that's why, to me, it is my favorite first appearance. I think the best first appearance of a comic book character. And I just want to say, if this video sparked your interest in Jonah Hex at all and you want some good Jonah Hex comics to read from back in the day, you can read Weird Western Tales Jonah Hex. It's a great collection from DC. I think it's like 400 something pages. It's got a lot of comics in here. Got some great stuff. Got the first appearance that I just told you about, and it's really good. It's nice. Like, the inside is beautiful. Like, it's a good collection. It's a good job by DC. I wish they'd do more stuff like this. So if you want to, definitely check that out. And yeah, I love this comic. I want to hear from you guys also in the comments below. What was your favorite first appearance for comic book character? Like any character, although I would say I'd prefer to hear like someone before, say, 1980, because, you know, then when we start getting a bit too modern, you know, I feel like there's different comparisons there. But either way, your favorite first appearance of a comic book character, I'm curious who it is, what issue you think really holds up and is amazing still to read to this day. Want to hear from you guys in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate this, because any chance I can to make a video on Jonah Hex, I'll take it, because he's one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. I don't really get to talk about him much because he doesn't have books published anymore. He hasn't had a book published since the New 52, and Bendis made Jenny Hex. So, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Hey, skinny boy, saucy boy, I be running to the bank. Yeah, you know I hit the gas in the whip full tank. Riding past the ocean while I'm listening to Frank.